Thank you for staying with us. For decades, Eastern Congo has been caught in cycles of brutal conflict, and through it all, one pattern remained tragically consistent: the weaponization of women's bodies. Sexual violence has reached staggering, almost unimaginable levels. It's not new, though. For decades, rape has been used as a weapon of war. But what's changed now is even more alarming. Victims who once had access to care, like medical, psychological, legal, are now being left completely on their own. In a report for the New York Times, journalist Stephanie Nolen shows how international donors have pulled out, clinics have closed, and once reliable services have vanished. Survivors, many of them women and children, are forced to live with untreated injuries, untreated trauma, and deep social stigma with nowhere to turn. Why has the world stepped back just when survivors need help the most? What will it take to rebuild the safety nets and the systems of justice that these women and girls deserve? For some thoughts on this subject, I have with me Bénédicte Kumbi-Ndjoko, spokesperson, Likambo Ya Mabele movement. We also have Obianuju Iloanya, gender equity and peace advocate. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. I will start with you, Bénédicte. The report paints a rather bleak picture of complete service collapse. Do you think it reflects the reality on the ground, or there are areas where some care still exists?
First of all, thank you for having me. Before answering your question, I would like really your viewers to understand that sexual violence in Eastern Congo is not accidental. This is systematic, weaponized terror against civilians. So it's really important to understand that. And right now, what we can say is that the health system in Eastern Congo is collapsing because of the war and rebel control. To begin with, in Goma alone, over 700,000 people are displaced. And to make matters worse, airports like Goma and Kavumu are closed, cutting off medicines and medical teams. And on top of that, major roads like Masisi, Walikale are also blocked. So as a result, things like vaccine, surgical kits, and food even often never arrive. So according to 2025 ICRC study of 109 health centers, the system is literally at risk of collapse. For instance, we know that under 5 consultations fell by almost 50%. Routine vaccination stopped from 67,000 in 2023 to only 29,000 in 2025. And we know also that stillbirths have quadrupled in the clinics surveyed. So moreover, looting of clinics and attacks on aid workers have doubled this year. And because of this, many hospitals are either closed or working reduced hours since staff have fled or are no longer being paid. And where rebels, so-called rebels like M23 control the territory, the situation becomes even worse because police and courts disappear, leaving survivors of rape or torture with no safe way to get medical care or seek justice. So I would say the result is clear. More women and children die from preventable causes. More sexual violence goes unpunished, and people lose trust in the state. So until road and air routes open, clinics are protected, and justice is eventually served to the people, this crisis will only deepen, I'm afraid.
Obianuju, there's always been this talk when we hear reports from international media organizations that maybe they're tending towards exaggerating what really is on the ground. Do you think that is what is happening in this instance, or the journalists truly captured the scale of what we're dealing with, particularly in terms of the impunity and the punishment that comes, the non-punishment that seem to come with the crimes that are being committed against these women and girls?
First off, it is important to note that this is not exaggerated at all. The numbers are astronomical. It is not, and it is not an inevitable thing. It is a conscious, deliberate act against these women and girls in this country. Congo is bleeding. The UN even called it the rape capital of the world. A child is being raped every hour in Congo. So the journalist is not exaggerating or trying to make it seem more than it is. I think that probably it might be underreported because there's also a large number of people who are not reporting being victims or survivors themselves, because there is also the stigma that comes with it. There is the backlash that comes when you go and report all of this. So
yeah, Obianuju, sorry to interject. Before you go on, I just feel there's a need to do some clarification. That rape capital statement was made many years ago. Does that reality still obtains today in describing the situation?
Yes, it is still obtained today. Congo has experienced rape of unimaginable standards, not just physical resources that we always focus on, but human bodies. Women are being raped every hour in Congo. You see, in February this year, Goma was raided. Hospitals were raided. Over 130 women kidnapped in these hospitals. What are they kidnapping women for? Why are they kidnapping them for? So when you say the rape capital tag has changed, it hasn't. It is still very much true that young women and girls are being raped without care, without support. And this is also because Congo is a country in distress, in crisis, and so judicial systems do not even work. There are not enough mobile courts to begin to address these issues, and when it is even being addressed, nobody is being punished, no perpetrators are not being punished, because like I said, it is a country at war. These women are facing round-the-clock violation. You find that even the rebel gangs, the military that's supposed to protect them, politicians who come to the IDP camps to talk to them to help, everybody is taking advantage, exploiting, raping young women and girls in Congo. It is unfair what is happening to them. It is a real humanitarian crisis that we should begin to address and discuss.
All right. I actually didn't say it has changed. I just questioned if that is still the reality today. Let me come back to you, Bénédicte, and ask. Some may argue that this is not new information. What, in your view, makes this report different and a little bit more urgent today?
Yeah, well, I think that is important, first of all, to say that the estimates suggest that women in Eastern Congo have faced severe sexual assault between 1996 and 2011, and the figures then were about up to 1.8 million of women who were aggressed sexually. And we need also to say that we face astronomical numbers with cases including infants as young as 4 months old. If you listen to the Nobel laureate, Dr. Denis Mukwege, he would tell you that he had to practice operation on babies and also on elderly in the 90s. And this situation it hasn't changed. And why is it urgent? Because this has been going on since 1996, when you have at least 2 million women raped in a country. I don't know if that doesn't call for emergency. I don't know what people expect different this time, because the same pattern has been going on again and again. And the problem is that the communities, when they see commanders or people belonging to those armed groups not facing justice year after year, they also understand that reporting those crimes is dangerous, and it doesn't lead to anything. So we even, I think, underestimate, because of that fear, because of those stigmas, what is happening really on the ground. And when we know that somebody like Dr. Denis Mukwege at the Panzi Hospital in South Kivu, he has treated more than 80,000 women alone. So what are we talking about here? And the last report, report of the UN addressed again those crimes, those sexual violences, and so if it comes again on the table, it means that the pattern is still there. This is a policy chosen by those who protect those militias, like the M23 that is controlled by Rwanda and Uganda. And until those people are not facing justice, this is not going to change. It will worsen, and maybe next year I'll come back here again and talk about another report.
Quite unfortunate, Bénédicte. I mean, I read some of the stories that these women shared before this conversation, and I must confess it was totally heart-wrenching. But that is why we have conversations like this, to perhaps do what we can to push the needle a bit. And I'm going to come to the question of what more active role can the media play. Granted that the Congo situation has been a long-standing one. But Obianuju, why have so many international donors pulled out of sexual violence response programs in Congo? Is it fatigue or shifting priorities, or just because of this glaring lack of accountability?
It has become even more unsafe for them. That's one of the things that we have to note. See, Doctors Without Borders, humanitarian organizations are also human beings who are on the field doing this work. And when they begin to lose their staff, when they begin to lose people who are doing the work, when they are overworked and overwhelmed. I mean, last year, 2024, between January and May, there were over 17,000 cases of sexual and gender-based sexual violence against women in the northern province of Kivu. So you find that when people are overwhelmed like this, and now this year, you find the hospitals being attacked in Goma, and people being kidnapped, staff and patients being kidnapped, it becomes imperative to protect yourself and protect your organizations. But also, like you say, that like they are overwhelmed, there is a fatigue, there's that overwhelming helplessness that they now feel. And you find that there's not enough materials, relief materials to help. Rape kits, all of these things are being burnt in the fight. When they come to kidnap, arrest, they burn, they destroy, they scatter everywhere. So they are unable to do this. You see, the thing about sexual violence is that within the first 72 hours, the first 3 days, is the most critical time to collect evidence, to provide care, to administer contraceptives, PEP, and all of that. When they do not have access to this because the humanitarian corridor is blocked by these rebels and by the M23, then it becomes impossible for them to act. I understand that it is necessary for us to begin to speak to why are they pulling out. They should stand their ground. But standing your ground, they are becoming human shields themselves, and now being kidnapped and arrested and being harmed by these people. So you find that there is little or nothing that they can do, and then it behoves on us who are in safer places to begin to advocate for these people, to speak for them. This crisis needs to stop. This peace deal needs to stand so that we can send in the necessary humanitarian help to these young women and girls whose bodies have become battlefield for rebels and for the M23 and for the military that's even supposed to protect them. It's such a crazy thing out there. I do not know how anybody is even existing, using cell phones, using the cobalts, knowing fully well that human body and flesh and blood are what is being used to pay for us to have access to all these luxuries. It's problematic.
Bénédicte, let's look towards solutions. Are you aware of any current initiatives, either non-governmental, governmental, or grassroots, that is still pushing for survival care or legal reform in this matter?
Well, there are many Congolese organizations acting in this field and advocating to end those horrific crimes. And I would say that maybe the leading figure in that realm is really the Nobel laureate, Dr. Denis Mukwege, because he has been advocating for Congolese women for such a long time now. I would say even 26 years, because the 1st of December, that was the anniversary of the Panzi hospital, the meaning that, yeah, it's really lasting. And there are a lot of groups like Genocos, for instance, which is a Congolese movement that is also advocating in order for the world to recognize the crimes committed in the Congo. There are also Congolese Action Youth, for instance, in England, that are also working on those questions, and especially on the Genocos, which is a genocide for economical gains, because those rapes are part of that. But I think that the first responsibility lies with the Congolese government. It must do its utmost in order to secure, for instance, the roads and also the clinics, and try really to reestablish the authority on those occupied territories. They need, and this is really important here, they really need to end impunity by demanding, for instance, that the UN Security Council act on the mapping report, call for an international criminal tribunal for the Congo, because without justice, the cycle of violence will never end, and aid agencies and NGOs can only do so much. They run mobile clinics, treat survivors when they can, and deliver food and medicine, but their work collapses whenever conflict cuts off access or armed groups attack health facilities. So we see that
I need to interject because I'm told we're out of time. Bénédicte, if you can hear me. Impunity. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to keep interjecting, but we're almost out of time for this conversation. And I'd like Obianuju to give her closing thoughts on what would it take to rebuild basic survivor-centered response in Congo, and who should be leading this effort. I mean, Bénédicte has already given us some, that at the heart of it is resolving the crisis in the Congo. You have about a minute, please.
Yes. Bénédicte has been very right in saying that the government must take action. They can't say their hands are tied anymore, because they are the government and it is their responsibility to do this. But also the international community must begin to sit up and speak about this issue. These are human beings, these are human bodies being killed, being massacred, being raped. These are young children. 45% of the victims are young babies, children. And we must begin to speak truth to power and say this is wrong. we must begin to say that medical assistance should be given to these people. Humanitarian corridors must be opened so that they can have access to rape kits, to have access to support that they need to survive. Justice must also be done. It's not enough to say that we will do justice, because on the paper, Congo has some strong laws. They have strong laws against sexual and gender-based violence.
All right, Obianuju.
Because of the crisis, this is not the same. So we must also be able to hold them accountable.
All right, Obianuju.
I'm so sorry about this.
That's all the time we have. It's unfortunate. I mean, in order to prove the case, the victim has to have evidence. Just crazy the way things are. But we're hoping for the best for the women and young girls in the Congo. Thank you very much for being here.
And thank you for speaking to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.